Hey there, I'm Dejan Isak and this is the Agency Engine Room, where we cut through the noise of thousands of tools to reveal the systems that actually deliver client results. The agencies that scale aren't just using more tools. They're strategically integrating the right tools to create operational engines that consistently deliver without burning out their teams. Find show notes and resources at agencyengineroom.com or /agencyengineroom on LinkedIn. Today, we're opening the engine room with Matthew Mellinger, co-founder of SEO Gets. Their platform has helped agencies escape Google's Search Console's headaches and finally get reports that actually make sense to clients. Matthew, welcome to the Agency Engine Room. Can you tell us briefly about your work with agencies and the problems you're solving?
Yeah. Thanks for having me on. Excited to chat. I guess one of the first things is with SEO Gets, the problem we're solving is my own problem because I am an agency owner myself. When I came on as a co-founder, it's basically just building for my own problems. So managing a bunch of clients is a pain in the butt. Search console data is really helpful, but when you're managing it, like if you're managing it for one site, not the huge deal. It has a lot of limitations, but it's not like a super big pain. But you start managing a portfolio of clients and it just, the problems compound. And so we're just basically building a tool that allows those limitations to be removed and to give agencies the tools that they need. And it's a blast because we take user feedback very seriously. So we're just building a tool that the community, that agencies, SEO agencies have really enjoyed.
Very cool. Yeah, I think I gave you a little bit of feedback myself because I'm also using it. So that's always cool when you're like talking to like founders, co-founders, or anyone involved in the actual product cycle, right?
Yeah. No, we get a lot of great feedback from our users. And I mean, that's how our product has been shaped up to this point, and that's how we'll continue to shape our product.
Very cool. Yeah, I think there's so many different ways to shape a product. Like some are very hard on the user feedback, and then there's some like who just do whatever, like Basecamp style. It's like, okay, I like doing this kind of product. I kind of want to do this feature, and just people will like it, people will not like it. I like where SEO gets us going. So let's see.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see in a year from now how we're doing.
Exactly. What I find also fascinating is that you're running both SEO Gets and local SEO partners at the same time. Could you walk us through the specific reporting nightmares you were dealing with in your own agency that led you to build this solution?
There's a couple issues. One is that most reporting tools charge you per client. And so obviously, the more clients you have, the more you have to pay for a tool. And so as you're digging into analytics for these different clients, it starts to become expensive. And not only that, most tools aren't built for agencies. They're built for like individual projects. And so there's no way for you to basically see your whole portfolio without getting a custom dashboard. And the custom dashboard needs a bunch of work. And then those custom dashboards are built normally really templated and very like basic for solving a lot of marketing needs. They're not really specialized in SEO. And so obviously I have an SEO agency. We only do SEO. And it was hard finding any tools that really hit that sweet spot of both analytics, reporting, but built for SEOs by an SEO that actually understands it. So I actually joined SEO Gets as a beta user from my agency side and was like, dude, this is a tool that I've been wanting. Reached out to Guy and was like, hey, can I buy this from you? And he's like, no, I don't want, you can be an affiliate. And I was like, I don't want to be an affiliate. I love this product. So we ended up working out a deal where I ended up working my way into being a 50-50 co-founder, pretty much pre-monetization. And that was, I think, February, March of last year. So yeah, it's like I said, it's just building, like jumping in and it's just building for my own problems. Like I have this problem, I go, and I'm not the technical co-founder. I'll say I'm the dumb co-founder. The SEO co-founder, I'm focused on product, talking to people. But yeah, it's just, hey, this is a headache. This is a big limitation for agencies specifically. Can we go build that? And the master dashboard is a great example of a tool having the ability to look at things from a high level overview, allows managers to see, hey, here's an issue. Hey, here's growth. Let's go look at these deeper.
Did you have at any point in time consider building it your own, or did you just find SEO Gets so quickly and you were like, okay, no point by building it. I'm just going to go ahead and join this company?
Yeah. So I was I have no SaaS experience. But yes, there was that vision of like, this tool doesn't really exist, which by the way, the more you do research, the more you're like, oh, there's a handful of tools like this. I just was totally ignorant, normally due to like lack of branding and marketing. But yeah, so I wanted to build it myself and then I wanted to buy it. And then I ended up realizing that partnering with Guy, who is a fantastic developer, I will call him a unicorn developer, but his ability to build features, understand UI and UX really well, has made my job as a product owner and like growth a lot easier, because I just give him a wish list. He's like, yeah, we can do it this way, or he kind of helps shape it into something more tangible, because I'm not a designer. It's like the kids drawing is my level of design. So it's been a really good partnership. And since then, it's like, yeah, we've had a lot of people join that was like, dude, I've been trying to build this for like 3 years on my own. And then I found your tool and I just gave up. And I'm like, great, come on, join on and give us feedback. So, I mean, even in the last month, I probably heard that 3-4 times where a new user has come on and been like, I've been trying to build this and it sucks and yours is great. So I'm just going to give up. So I had the same kind of mentality.
I think that's very cool because most people, they are like very stuck in the idea to like, okay, I'm just going to build it myself. It's going to be 100% what I want. But they really don't consider how much work it is to run a SaaS, to continuously fix bugs, add some new features. And at some point, you will reach that point where people are asking for new features that you maybe don't even need, but you're still going to implement them because otherwise you're losing the people, right? So if the tool is already available and does like 80% of what you want, it might get close to 100 down the road. So I really don't see the point of, oh my God, I have to have it. I have to build it myself.
Yeah, and people think that they're saving money normally by building it themselves because there's not a subscription. But again, in our case, like we're $49 a month for our highest tier. And it's like, you're telling me that you're going to spend less than an hour building this a month. I mean, most of our people that we serve are worth more than $50 an hour, or at least that's their value of their time. And so it's like, if we save you an hour of time not having to do that, which we look at it as in a different way in terms of ROI, like we really want to focus on improving SEO results and client retention, which the ROI is far greater than that. But even just saying saving time, it's like, yeah, why not just find a tool? And the other thing is that people have really appreciated our willingness to learn and make quick implementations. So someone's saying, hey, this is like, I wish you could do this. And it's like, he will 2 days later, like, hey, it's ready. And you're like, wait, what? That's crazy. So I think it's nice that we're a bootstrapped small team. And so we listen. And I think that's really helped a lot of people that want to build their own kind of be okay with it because we've made a lot of implementations that they've suggested.
Very nice. Let's talk about the hidden limitations of Google Search Console that most agencies probably don't realize are draining their time at this moment. You've written about Google's dirty little secret with anonymous queries. Can you explain that a little bit, what it means? Because I think some people are not really familiar with it.
A lot of people know about it, but a lot don't. A lot of our users have never heard of anonymous queries. And Google Search Console has anonymous queries, which is basically they are hiding the data in the rows below with the specific queries that you're getting clicks for if they don't meet a certain quota requirement. And so it has to be a certain amount of clicks within a certain time frame. Otherwise, if it's too low a volume, they won't show you what you got clicks for. So in practicality, say you have 100 clicks. And if I were to split it down into, say, a dichotomy, which is like branded keywords versus non-branded keywords. If I filtered by my branded keywords and I say I had 30 branded keywords, math would say, okay, then I have 70 non-branded keywords. 30 plus 70 equals 100. Whereas when you filter by branded and non-branded, a lot of times you're only going to equal up to like 60 to 70% of the actual clicks shown at the top of the graph. And that's due to anonymous queries. That's due to privacy concerns and other things like that. And so I say Search Console has a lot of limitations, but there are 2 of them. One of them is anonymous queries. The other one is they also have 1,000 row limit on the query data in the page. Any data, they have 1,000 row limit, which any site that's getting real volume has much greater than 1,000 rows of data. And so by using the API, Search Console's API, that gets removed up to 50,000. So you get 49,000 more times data by going through the API, which again, just looking at it math-wise, you're looking at 2% of your potential data if you have a full 50,000 data set. And the more data you have, the better the anonymized queries get, the less anonymized queries you get, I guess I would say. So on that article, you can go and look at the chart, and we actually broke down the numbers of how many anonymized queries are there.
Yeah, it's crazy if you think about it. Like Google Search Console is free, so that's good enough for like smaller sites, hobby projects. But if you're an agency and you have clients and you pipe your Google Search Console data into your reports, that's not going to be very accurate, is it?
Yeah, and it's also not helpful. Like if you're looking for, like I'm a big proponent of looking for middle of funnel and bottom of funnel content, which is normally going to be your lower volume search. And so they're showing you the top 1,000 rows. But if all of your valuable keywords are 1,100 and below to 50,000, you don't get any of that query data or any of that page data. And so it's like, yeah, you're almost like walking blindfolded as an agency trying to improve your clients' results without all of the information. So yeah, it's just a huge improvement to use the API.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned that you talk a lot to like business owners during a week, right? And they probably have been burned by some sort of SEO agencies. Like I hear this repeatedly where I talk to SEO agency founders and they're like, I had to gain the trust of this new client because other agencies kind of messed it up. How much of that damage comes from poor reporting and lack of transparency, do you think?
I would say a lot of it, but more so the reporting and data is often used in a way to deceive or to hide the actual true issue, which is a misunderstanding of true KPIs. And so like a lot of agencies will come in. I don't know how many agencies we've come in and we look at the reports that have been previously and they're like, yeah, we did this, 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 and this. And this is their report, right? It's what they did. And then the question is, so what? What does it mean? Well, you didn't increase impressions, you didn't increase in rankings, you didn't increase in clicks, you didn't make any money. So why does it matter that you did any of this? Like ultimately, and of course, SEO is a patient game, but at the same time, there's leading indicators. Everything's a funnel. Like at the top of the funnel, rankings need to increase, which should generate more impressions, which should generate more clicks, which should generate more traffic, which ultimately should generate more leads or revenue. And so the issue is that most agencies don't care about that bottom. They care about normally at the end, they care about clicks. Clicks are important, but with AI overviews, and we'll talk about that probably here in a little bit, but like clicks are becoming less and less indicator of true ROI. Like again, understanding that reporting is all contextual. It's a story, right? And if you don't understand the story you're telling, or you're trying to deceive someone with the story you're telling, it doesn't matter how good or bad the reporting and data is. You can use the same number. I had 5,000% growth. And you're like, wow, that sounds so good. And then you're like, what does it mean? It's like, well, I went from 1 to 50. And you're like, okay, 50 click. Like, what does that even like? What does that even? How much revenue? 0. Okay, well, yeah, I think that's the issue with SEO agencies burning companies, because they actually don't care about the business. They care about a paycheck. Now, that's not all agencies, but there's plenty of burn and churn that their only goal is to bring more customers in before they churn out and just keep growing that way. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, I love the 5,000% increase because I've seen it in case studies. And then I'm like, so you scaled it from 0, didn't you? Like, otherwise, where would the 5,000 come from?
Yeah, then you look at a little bit more of the context of the data and you're like, wait, okay, that story is way miscued. It's easy to do with analytics, tell stories that aren't really true.
I've seen it also myself, like if we, like for Service Provider Pro, when we outsource something SEO related and you get like a report, I'm like looking at it and I was like, okay, I have to have a PhD to get through this report or what? Like it doesn't tell me much. It's a lot of numbers. And obviously I do SEO from myself, right? And I still have to think, what am I looking at? So can you imagine like someone who's no clue about SEO looking at those numbers and pie charts and graphs? It's like, that doesn't tell them anything at all.
Yeah, and analytics at the end of the day should be one of two things. It should be telling the story, context, and it should be actionable. Without those two things, it's vanity. And I'm a big believer of that. And so you need a bigger understanding of the whole story, the goals that you're looking for, and then being able to then take action with that reporting. Because again, if it's a pie chart and you're like, so what do I do? Do I just look at it? Like, it looks pretty cool. Like, it doesn't give you any business insights or information into what you should do next or reactions that you should take to improve. And that's what analytics should be.
Yeah, how would you structure like a nice report, for example? Because when I update something for Service Provider Pro, I often do it around clusters. So for example, let's say there's a client billing cluster. So then I start going in and update a bunch of posts and you'll see that the entire cluster grows in impressions and clicks and everything. So like one blog post might not do that much by itself, but if you start improving around it and the journey is more clear, then you see that there are improvements. But how would you show this to a client?
Yeah. So we actually have 2 features built specifically for this, the topic clusters and content groups. And we've had a lot of people come and tell us that when they set up those specifically the content groups, so around feature pages or blog pages or a certain set of things that you've made updates, And what it allows you to do is see the growth and decay based on topic clusters. And so we have a client portal. And so a lot of our agencies will set up the topic clusters and the content groups, create a client portal, send it over to them, and it shows the breakdown of percentage growth by group. And the agencies suddenly get a realization like, okay, not only did we just grow, but like our feature page grew, or like, okay, our homepage grew, or our homepage is down, but it gives a more complete story. I think at the end of the day, like you said, it needs to be easy to understand. There was a post on LinkedIn recently where a guy was talking about a previous agency's report, and it was just a PDF from a dashboard with data. There was no analysis, no commentary, no explanation on what the data is, no work, action, plan, no strategy, nothing. It was just copy, paste, send. And unfortunately, that actually does happen enough. And it's like our agency has a very simple format: what we did, what we're going to do, what we need from you, and so what, which is basically more of the data in like storytelling. So it's like we'll take screenshots, or we'll kind of piece together the story of saying like, okay, here's the context, and you can scan it in about 30 seconds. You understand what's going on, you understand what's good and bad. And that's how we understand, like, that's why we use our topic clusters, content groups, brand versus non-branded traffic, things like that, to help give a more full story in a very quick, easy, digestible format.
Now that we understand the problems that are related to data, let's shift to the efficiency engine segment. Matthew, beyond the anonymous query issue that we talked about earlier, what kind of daily headaches do you think agencies have when they juggle multiple client accounts and have to handle reporting?
Yeah, I mean, I'm in Search Console too much myself. I mean, it's part of my job, but like I know as an SEO strategist, I know it's easy to get lost in Search Console or even tools, right? Like analytics is a rabbit hole. You can go really deep. And so you compound that across a portfolio of sites, you have a limited amount of time in the day. And analytics at the end of the day doesn't actually move the needle. And I hate to say that as an analytics tool, but like it informs how you need to move the needle. And so the less time you can spend in analytics and more time you can actually do, like you said, changing a topic cluster, improving the content, adding new content, doing things that will actually move the needle. That's the whole goal of our tool, is simple, intuitive, and complete. I mean, I check my master dashboard too much. SEO Gets has a master dashboard that has all the client sites on it. And it's funny because we made it mobile friendly, which is probably not good for me. But it's like, normally our users are in our app weekly, finding answers as fast as possible, opportunities for growth, and then going and implementing them. And so that's kind of the goal, is finding answers and giving context to why something has grown or something has decayed. Again, it's like you'll see a spike and you're like, okay, what happened there? I need to understand that and then realize, is it actually matter? Was it an anomaly, or is it something that I can capitalize on? And so that's really like how most agencies should be looking and understanding analytics. And then the other side of that is like, they don't look at analytics at all. They'll go and just shoot from the hip and hope it works. And it's like, no, you need to understand what's working and not working. And you need to understand that. So you can't not do analytics, but it's just a piece of the puzzle.
Can you walk us through how a dashboard transforms an agency's typical reporting workflow?
It's basically just a high-level overview of all the sites in Search Console. Every single tab, you have to open a new tab for every client. Ours allows you to connect all the Search Console accounts and all of your properties into one master dashboard that allows you to kind of create a flexible, customized dashboard to say, hey, these are the sites that are important. I want to tag these sites. And so a lot of times we'll use tagging for different tiers or different industries. And so I can understand industry specifics like, hey, this whole industry got hit. Or like AI overviews is a great example. We can now look at trends across, hey, a lot of these SaaS tools in this area got hit with AI overviews because impressions went up, clicks went down, even though position remained the same, if not going up. And so it's a really good way to get a high level overview without needing to spend a ton of time trying to piece that picture together. Your agency is, in a sense, managing a portfolio of sites. And so you need to have a full understanding of the portfolio of sites and making sure that like you don't want one client to just fall by the wayside. The master dashboard allows you to kind of make sure that you understand everything and that you're able to make decisions based off that information. Again, kind of like we were talking about.
Let's move to the user impact segment. Matthew, you manage over 100 domains with SEO Gets at this point. Probably even more. I'm not sure about the exact number, but can you tell me what feature you think is your personal time saver?
I would say the speed to answer. In Search Console, finding specific answers is difficult. And so like I have 30 sites and 3 of them got a big increase. And so normally, first off, I would have to go and check every site manually. And so that takes forever. I can see, okay, these 3 sites had an increase and this one site had a decrease. So I have 4 sites out of my, say, 100, whatever, sites that I need to go look into. Well, jumping into the performance dashboard, I can jump in and again, because I've set up the content cluster or the topic clusters in the content groups, I can say, okay, 20% of my drop was in blogs. Out of those blogs, it was one page. One page got de-indexed. Okay, let's make sure Go gets re-indexed and boom. That would normally take me a lot of time to identify, clicking and figuring out those filters. I love being able to we have this little feature that you can click and drag the time frame. And so as there's a huge spike, I just click and drag, see the time frame, see the growing or the decay. Okay, this is why. Once I know that answer, I can then make a logical conclusion of, do I need to do something about this or not? That is what I spent most of my time doing in Search Console. And with SEO Gets, being able to jump between properties so quickly and easily, understanding which ones I need to look at, saves me a ton of time on a weekly basis. I think that's like finding deep answers quickly is the number one time saver for me in SEO Gets.
Yeah, that sounds like it saves you definitely a lot of time. Can you share a story about how better data presentation actually saved or transformed a client relationship?
Analytics has always been my background, and so I've tried to take this seriously. And so I would say we have gotten new clients because of poor reporting from other agencies. I would also say that we, in the past, I think year and a half, have had pretty much 100% retention rate in our agency, which we are a smaller boutique agency, and we take reporting a little bit more seriously. And like, I know how the businesses are doing. Every single one of our clients, I know how their business is doing, not just from an SEO perspective. The business owners will let us know. And I think that's one of the things that like is really important. Going back to the simple framework, people want more updates. They want almost over communication. And so as long as you're responsive, we have a small team, so they deal with the same people. It's kind of been the framework that I know works because we have retention. I don't feel like I need to improve that area. We have a lot of areas to improve in the agency, but in terms of reporting, I feel like we've dialed that in because our customers know us. They love it. They love the communication, and we don't churn. And so that means obviously something's working. Actually, normally I think in the past 4 months, we've had 2 or 3 of our retainers actually increase in revenue. They're like, this is going so well. Can I pay you more money? And that's a good sign that you're reporting well, that you're communicating well, and that the results are there.
Yeah, with the reporting, are you still doing any calls like for reporting, or is everything like, okay, I'm just going to give them access to it and they're going to figure it out from there?
No, so we do a monthly end of month email is like our main report. And I don't want to actually I don't normally give them a client portal unless they're more SEO minded. I would generally take, again, that framework that we talked about earlier and tell a story that they can read the email in about a couple minutes. And again, good SEO, they should be able to feel the impact eventually themselves. Like they shouldn't need a report at the end of the day. An example is we had a mobile bartending client, and they started getting a ton of leads for a service that they had never previously offered before we added the page. So they knew there was 0 other attribution except SEO. And now they're starting to get a bunch of these leads, and they're like, okay, I don't even need a report to tell me that this is working. Same thing with our timber framing company. Like they started getting leads with a type of product that they're selling. They're like, we didn't do this before. Like hired you, felt this impact. And so that's the other thing is that like we work mostly with small businesses. Again, there's some exception. We're a local SEO agency. There's some qualifications I would make sure I needed to add there, but like, yeah, I think it's very important that you communicate at least monthly, if not every other week, and just giving a basis so that they understand like what you're doing. We actually had a thing hung up where it was like 30 lines of things that they did, and it was like the high school report where they had a word count that they had to write, and it was like the same sentence written like 50 different ways, and I honestly couldn't believe it was real, but it happens. So being short, concise, and over communicating is always clear. So no, we don't hop on calls. We do an email report. If they want to call, we answer the phone. But after the first month or 2, they start to kind of build that trust, and they just look for that report and know that we're doing our job.
Yeah, in my first episode, I talked to Justus from Watergraph, and he said the monthly reports are usually good, but at some point, you don't want anyone to forget about your agency. So if you can do it like bi-weekly or even monthly, that's really good because then they get a regular email or a regular report, and I'm like, oh yeah, the agency, they're always like on time with their new report.
Yeah. And when they have to ask you for a report, it's too late. I'll say that. If a client asks for more communication, it's because they're thinking about you and worried that you're not doing anything. And that's when things go downhill. That's when you'll get in trouble.
Do you ask your clients at all, like what they prefer? Is there like some questionnaire? Because I don't know, for me, for example, since I'm very technical, I would like to just have a client portal and view it whenever I want. But other people, they want an email. Maybe someone wants an SMS. I don't know.
So we lay that framework or the groundwork for that on the onboarding. And we kind of lay expectations that we believe is very reasonable and fair. And like I said, we know it works because we're not having people ask for reports. We're not having, as long as you lay out expectations and then deliver on those expectations, and as long as those expectations are reasonable, it should work. Now, again, if you were a client, you'd be very different. I would just give you a client portal and say, hey, go check it and ask me questions whenever. We have one client like that, and she'll come in and be like, hey, what about this? And I'll just answer it quickly. But for the most part, they're busy running their businesses. Again, I'm focused on small local businesses. So understanding who your client is very important. Now, as a SaaS, like if I was in a SaaS B2B SEO agency, very different. I would very much structure my reporting and it's understanding who you're targeting is very key to that reporting because everyone wants different things.
Let's run a quick engine diagnostic. Matthew, with 15 times more data at their fingertips, what do you think agencies shoot themselves in the foot with when it comes to client reports? You already talked about this a little bit, but maybe there's something not just about like, okay, your reports suck. What is it specifically that sucks about those reports?
Yeah, no context. I think that's the biggest issue is that people, and they'll just fire hose you with data that doesn't mean anything. So context. Why are you telling me this? If it's not important, don't tell me. Anything in life, we're in a place of like quick convenience. I don't have time to just sit and read a novel or like you said, if you're an SEO and you have to look at this and you're like, what does this number even mean? If I have to try and use my brain to interpret it, it's not successful. So keeping things simple and keeping them clean and only putting the most important things, again, going back to the 80-20 law, like you only need 20% of the information to get them 80% of the way there. And that's normally good enough.
What do you think is the sweet spot between giving clients too little information and drowning them in data?
Yeah, again, enough to tell a story. You can't not tell a story, and you have to tell a real story that would reflect with their experience, right? If I said, again, going back to the whole 5,000, hey, we got you 5,000% growth in traffic. And they're like, we haven't got a single new sale. There is a mismatch in story versus experience. And so keeping it enough to tell the story that is true, but at the same time, you don't go too much. So I always go on like the shorter side of like high level key points. If I can't scan this, just like a landing page, if I can't scan this and understand in 30 to 45 seconds what it's saying, that's kind of the sweet spot I look for.
Now, for our integration insight segment, when agencies connect SEO Gets expanded data feature set to their existing tools, what kind of surprising capabilities do you think emerged? Like, have you seen any cool tools they combine with SEO Gets?
Yeah. So, I mean, I can talk about my tool stack with it because I just sent that out and we had some people asking about it. It's got a very unique place. And I think people will be like, well, is it just another tool? And I'll say this, if you're using Search Console, which you should be as an SEO, and if you're not, yeah, you should be. We just replace Search Console. That's kind of like our spot that we take. And we work really well with content writers, keyword tracking. So like I use Screaming Frog. I use keyword.com for rank tracking. Right now we're trying out SEOwin.io for content writing. And basically I'm using them in different ways in complements to SEO Gets. Even if you want to use like a reporting software that like Agency Analytics or SPP, it plugs into that. It's a notch in the belt. Like it's a specific tool to replace Search Console. Because we're free and we give you 50 times more data, there's no reason not to. Like we don't store data. It's privacy first. You get more data, you get better dashboard. It's better in literally every way except the indexing for Search Console, which we're going to be taking care of that here soon. It's basically just, you don't need to be in Search Console anymore. And so that's really how it fits within that tool belt. again, finding keywords to target. Then I put it in the rank tracker, because the rank tracker is like the one thing I don't like with Search Console is it's an average ranking. And so it's not really accurate. Whereas I want to know exactly how that rank tracking is working. And so I'll use the analysis to find what's growing and decaying, where I can optimize. Then I use the content writer to then optimize the content. And then I put it in the rank tracker, and then I just rinse and repeat. And that's kind of where it sits. Again, 85% of our value is free. And so even if you don't use our paid features, it's just a free upgrade in every way. So if you shouldn't not use it, everyone should be using this.
Very cool. Yeah, for content optimization, have you used any AI tools like Claude or not yet?
Yeah, so SEO Wind is using it's kind of like a content AI agent, is how he describes it. It's really good. I will also use Claude. I'm a big Claude guy, so for landing pages and things like that. And yeah, so we are using AI within there, but it's just within the context of understanding why we're using AI. We don't just use AI to use it; it's to help specific pieces within content or optimize appropriately.
Finally, let's talk success patterns. Matthew, you work with both local businesses and bigger accounts. Does this approach need any sort of tweaking on your side?
No, again, we have really small portfolio sites. So we'll have brands that have a huge number of clicks and sites, big single sites. We also have agencies with a ton of lot of little small sites. And I would say the approach is a little bit different. Obviously, you want to spend more time in the topic clusters and content groups on the big sites. Like you can spend more time going deeper into answers and things like that. Whereas when you start to scale agency wise and you have a lot of clients, you're focused on 80-20. If you have one site and you're only focused on that, you go 100%. You want to go super deep. Once you start to expand into a lot of clients, you need to make sure they're all doing well. And so you focus more on an 80-20 principle where it's like, how can I get 80% of the results with 20% of the work? What are the big things that actually move the needle? Stop focusing on things that are vanity and focusing on things that actually drive an ROI for these guys, and then move on to the next because I have a limited amount of resources.
And when it comes to like setting up an SEO agency, what do you think is like the bare minimum of tools they need to like see some immediate value in like scaling their agency?
I mean, there's a lot of free tools. A lot of people want to rush out and buy Ahrefs and all these different things. And it's like, you need hosting, like you need the ability to host and manage a site. So again, we use hosting and WordPress for most of our local stuff. And even if you're just working with a team, if you're just an agency to work on content and stuff, there are a couple core tools that you need to be showing an ROI on your investment. People were just, I just did a build and public report and think we're at like 30% profit margin, and people were roasting us. They're like, only 30% and like you're burning money and all these things. I was like, okay, I wasn't here to flash anything. I'm here to be transparent. There's a basis of like people like tools because it's a flashy object syndrome where it's like, oh, this new tool will help me rank. You don't need a rank tracker. You don't need like Search Console's free. SEO Gets is free. There's a lot of free, like Google Ads is free for keyword research. There's a lot of ways to get free information. It takes a little bit more work, but when you're starting out, you have more time than money, just being frank. And so you have to be a little bit more scrappy and creative with free tools. And there's a lot of like blogs where you can say, hey, what are the top 10 free tools for SEOs? Go look at that list and see which of these do I need, and then go and implement those. And then once you hit a limitation or you're stuck on something, you're like, I need this in order to do a better job at my job, then go pay for it if you have the money for it. But don't just go out and buy tools because they look nice and they think you're going to make you a better SEO. It's just not true.
Wise words. Yeah, I think some people overcomplicate it. I mean, obviously, you don't want to reach the point where like everything is squeaking and none of your automations are working and like you're losing clients left and right. Then it's too late to optimize. Like you should still see ahead of, okay, next month, if we get 2 more clients, our team is going to be burned out because the free tools are not cutting it anymore.
Exactly. As your needs scale, then you can scale the tools as well, for sure.
Let's talk about AI in the SEO analytics world. You talked about AI overviews, but first I want to talk about AI for SEO Gets. Are you looking to build any AI feature?
Yeah, we've discussed. I mean, MCP is like a very popular term right now with using Claude to talk to GSC data. What are some keywords that I can target that I'm not currently ranking for? What's content that I can write that will help me rank for keywords I'm already kind of ranking for? What happened to my site? Why did this go down? Like talking to your data, I think is the future. The issue is that when you have 100 sites and you're using AI credits for all of those, you're quickly going to run into some budget limitation. Like you're going to start scaling costs really quickly. Right now, there are a lot of tools that are super, like Right Sonic's a good example. VC funded, lots of money. You can talk to your data. You go and use it. It's like, it gives you the same information our dashboard does without AI. It just took the data and just put it into a bullet point. And I'm like, okay, at that point, it's not helpful. Like AI isn't helpful in that capacity. I think what's going to really be advantageous, and I think where we will probably spend some time and resources, is focusing on the training of the AI. I think that's like with a lot of content writers, they're all using the same. A lot of them are using the same model, but it's the prompting and the training of that makes each a little more proprietary. And so in the same way, taking a lot of our optimization reports and saying things and then understanding how our AI is going to then give you answers that actually lead to action. Because again, I don't want AI for AI's sake. It's a hype keyword and everyone's like, oh, we have AI, this AI. And then you use it and it's like, okay, this actually wasn't that great. Now, will it become great? Sure. We're very early on. And I think that's where we'll also kind of go down, but costs will go up. And we've kind of stayed away from AI right now for two reasons. One is because it's just not really there yet to be more practical than just our reports can do. And the budget, like we have taken a budget-friendly approach to our software. And so because of that, we allow the users to find those answers pretty quickly and easily by themselves. But it is inevitable for tools in the future to really kind of have some sort of capacity to quickly understand, shortcut the simplicity of getting information that is actionable. I think it's going to be needed.
Yeah, I think I see it the same way. Like I use Cloud mostly to talk to it about some kind of data. Like I download something from SEO Gets, like a CSV file with keywords, or when I check cannibalization and so on, and then I tell it, check the keywords, analyze it. Do you think there's actually cannibalization? Can I just de-optimize one of the blog posts? Do I really have to merge them? It's not that clear if I look at it, so I need like a different perspective on it.
Yeah. And like right now, again, I know some people will be exporting to CSVs and then again, because you're getting the more rows, export to CSV and then either use Python or Sheets to talk with it or Claude, or there's a lot of ways to even use it right now with that. But I think again, in the future, there is some sort of just native integration to have that same capabilities.
Looking ahead with Google's AI shaking things up in the search results, what do you think agencies should change when it comes to measuring criteria for SEO success?
Which goes back to my original core problem, understanding what your true North Star KPI is. If it's a local business, is it leads, qualified leads? If it's a SaaS, is it new signups? Is it e-commerce? Is it revenue? Because at the end of the day, that's what matters. And so I know as an agency, it's difficult to get those numbers. You have to really work hard to understand as best as you can. If the client says, no, you can't have access to any of that data, then you're telling me that I'm supposed to be doing this blind because you're essentially telling me that I'm just supposed to look at it as impressions and clicks. And then if that's the North Star metric that my client is expecting, then my job just became easy because I don't really have to worry about what it actually means, which normally what that means is 6 to 12 months down the road, it's not going to work out because they're not looking at it from an ROI perspective. They're looking at it from a vanity perspective, which I'm scrappier than some people when they're going to talk about like brand marketing, where it's like, yeah, it's just brand awareness. And I'm like, yeah, brand awareness doesn't pay my bills at the end of the day. Leads, traffic, or revenue pays my bills. That's how my business functions. It's not on brand awareness. Now, I understand brand awareness leads to those things, but I'm more of I think SEO is able to be more tangible in tracking ROI. And that's why I appreciate about SEO is that like I can show, hey, we ranked for this drove this many leads. That means this much money. You paid us this much. That's a 10x ROI. Very, very straightforward path. And the less you get off that path, the more tougher it will be to keep people happy. Because again, they will feel revenue impact. They will feel leads. They won't feel brand awareness from a visibility perspective.
Yeah, my next question ties a little bit into this because you talk to so many burned out business owners. What do you think is one metric that agencies should lead with when you want to rebuild trust and prove value to their new clients?
Yeah, I think it's kind of just repeating that, where it's understanding what the goal of the client is. If you don't have access to that metric directly getting it. Again, in that monthly report saying, hey, we've noticed that clicks have gone up and your traffic has gone up. Are your leads going up too? If they say yes, they've also just out loud repeated what they wanted to hear in their mind, which means you're going to be retained. Oh, yes, they're driving more leads. I want to pay them more to do more of that. If they say no, then you have to ask the question, are my leads unqualified? Is it an issue with them following up? Like, am I driving leads? They're not answering the phone and then they're not calling back. And that's nothing I can do, because then I can go to them and say, hey, we're doing our job. You're not doing your job, which either means it's not going to be a good fit anyway, because I can do this all day. I can get you the best results. And if you don't capitalize on it, guess what? You're going to fire me. And I've seen that a handful of times where people get fired, not because of their own lack of ability, but because of the lack of ability of the people on the other end. Again, looking at it more holistically, not just as revenue, allows you to kind of understand the health and the performance of the relationship between a client and an agency.
Before we wrap up, I'd like to ask you a question I'll be asking all of our guests. What's one underrated system, tool, or process that you believe is a really hidden gem for agencies?
I would say hidden tool is the GSC indexing report. It's free. Again, we plan on building something in SEO Gets for that, but like, I don't know how many people have sent me their Search Console access. They're like, blah, blah, blah. And you go in there and they have like 10% of their pages aren't even indexed, core pages. And you're like, wait, it sounds simple, but a lot of people that do their own websites just don't think about those things. I think the second biggest underrated process is internal linking. I think people don't understand the power of internal linking. They're always talking about building backlinks, but internal linking done right can just change the trajectory of a business. And the last thing I think is more the direction of LLMs and AI is, and people are realizing this, which as a local SEOs, we've been doing this for a while, but schema markup or structured data, I think is becoming more and more important for the ability to crawl faster. So all this has to do with crawling and being able to read quickly, indexing, internal linking, and schema markup. That's all has to do with understanding the future of search as a whole.
Yeah, schema is pretty cool because most of the time, for SVP at least, I only cared about the FAQ schema for the blog. But now since I built a podcast website, I'm like, oh my God, there's so much more you can do. The episode page has all kinds of schema. Each episode itself has schema, like who's the author, who's the guest. Like you will be the guest in the schema for this episode. There's so much you can put in there. It's incredible.
Once you run down the schema rabbit hole, which there, again, 80-20, you can run down the schema rabbit hole. And I have seen people do it where it's just like mountains of schema. The other nice thing with schema, and this is a little trick for agencies, is say I want certain things attributed to a page that my client doesn't want on the page for design or UX or UI purposes. A schema is a great way for you to kind of, again, put certain things of like linking to my author LinkedIn profile in the schema as same as Matthew Mellinger, same as LinkedIn, attributing some of those semantical entities together to give a very clear picture of what this page is and what it's about, I think is helpful without needing to like necessarily always have that stuff on the page, which that may be a controversial take. I'm not sure, but we do it.
What do you do with the reviews? Because that's very controversial. Like I went down the rabbit hole with reviews. I was like, can we just aggregate all the reviews from like Trustpilot, G2 and just put an average on it? I think not. Some people said yes. I was like, I'm just going to stay away from it. I can't get a definitive answer.
Yeah, I've seen a ton of pages that have like in the SERPs, it'll be like 4.9 stars and you go look on the page and there's no 4.9 stars. And you're like, how did they get that nice little SERP? And it's in the schema. I'll say this, I have no issues putting things that are true. If you actually have a 4.9 stars in Trustpilot and all these other things. Now, Trustpilot specifically, I don't know if I would do on the page because they're stupid and they will sue you, and Trustpilot's a different story, but like I put Google reviews on our page in terms of like 4.9 stars from Google because they can go and look, and I can even say same as Google Business Profile, look here. I don't put things that aren't true, right? So if I have an e-commerce page, a lot of people do this, 4.9 stars with 13 reviews, and then you go and look at it and it's all schema markup and it's not actually user-generated reviews. That's just for the purpose of social proof that isn't true. I don't like doing that myself. I think that will always just come to bite you in the butt later, but people do it and it works. So there's a lot of range of what people will do in SEO, that's for sure.
Yeah, let's not talk about the gray area and any black hat related stuff. That's going to be very juicy. Matthew, it was a pleasure talking to you. We could go on forever, I think, about SEO related stuff, but tell me, where can our listeners learn more about you and SEO Gets?
Yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn mostly. You can also email me at matt@SEOgets.com. Come check out the tool. It's free. We have a little chat bubble in there. We're also on that. We're a small team, so you'll get us directly and you can have questions. Or I love hopping on calls like this with agencies and other SEOs, just talking about what's working, what's not, how to improve things, and just being better SEOs, getting better results for our clients.
Thank you for sharing these insights. Remember, great tools are just the start. The magic happens when you strategically implement them into your agency's workflow. This is Dejan Isak. See you in the engine room.